The stars looked different from the observation deck of the Dauntless. Captain John Miller stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the strange alien ship grew larger on the main display. After decades of searching, humanity had finally made contact with an alien civilization. The ship had appeared near Jupiter's orbit 2 days ago, and since then, Earth had been holding its breath. "Any response to our greeting messages?" John asked, turning to his communications officer. Kevin Young shook his head. "Nothing yet, Captain. We've sent them in all formats we could think of. Radio, light signals, mathematical sequences. They're receiving them but not answering." John nodded slowly. First contact was never going to be easy, but he had hoped for something more than silence. The Earth Space Commission had prepared for this moment for years. The Dauntless, humanity's most advanced ship, had been built specifically for this purpose, to represent Earth in its first meeting with alien life. "They're moving again, sir," reported Linda Chen, the sensor officer, "heading directly toward us now." The alien vessel was unlike anything humans had designed. It had a strange, angular shape with sections that seemed to float independently of the main structure connected by beams of light. Its surface shimmered with colors that shifted in patterns too complex to follow. "Maintain position," John ordered. "Let's not make any sudden moves." The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Humanity's first contact with an alien species. Everything would change after today. John felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. Billions of people back on Earth were waiting to hear how this meeting would go. The alien ship stopped about a kilometer away from the Dauntless, close enough to show its size, nearly 3 times larger than the human vessel. "Captain, we're being scanned," Linda said, her voice tight. "Multiple frequencies, very intense." Before John could respond, the main screen flickered. A face appeared. At least, he thought it was a face. The being had gray-blue skin with ridges where a human would have eyebrows. Its eyes were large, solid black, and it had no visible nose, just 2 small slits. When it spoke, its mouth barely moved, but a deep, rumbling voice filled the bridge. "Primitive vessel," the alien said in perfect English, surprising everyone. "Identify your species designation and governing authority." John stepped forward. "I am Captain John Miller of the Earth Space Commission vessel Dauntless. We represent humanity and the United Earth Government. We come in peace and friendship." The alien stared at him for a long moment. "Humans, we are the Kaldorians. Your technology is interesting for such an undeveloped species." Something in the way the alien said "interesting" made John uneasy. There was a dismissive tone that reminded him of how adults sometimes spoke to children. "We wish to establish peaceful relations," John continued. "We have prepared information about our culture, science, and history to share with you." The Kaldorian made a sound that might have been a laugh. "That will not be necessary. We have already accessed your global information networks." "Primitive security measures?" John exchanged alarmed glances with his crew. They had hacked Earth's networks that quickly? "Your species is not ready for galactic community membership," the Kaldorian continued. "You will be classified as a developing world under quarantine." "Quarantine?" John questioned. "We don't understand. We've shown no hostility." "It is not about hostility. It is about capability. You lack the necessary advancement. We will establish an observation post on the 4th planet of your system. Do not interfere." The screen went blank. "They cut the transmission," Kevin said unnecessarily. John stood frozen for a moment. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. "Send a complete report to Earth Command. Include everything that just happened." Dr. Samantha Wright leaned closer to her screen, replaying the conversation with the Kaldorians for the 12th time. As Earth's leading xenolinguist, she had been called in immediately after the Dauntless sent its report. "There's something wrong here," she muttered, making another note. The way the alien had spoken, the word choices, the subtle inflections, something didn't add up. Her office door opened and Admiral George Franklin walked in. Tall and gray-haired, the Admiral had the weathered look of someone who had seen too much. Tell me you found something, Doctor, he said without preamble. Samantha nodded. I have. They're lying to us, Admiral. Or at least they're hiding their true intentions. She pointed to her screen. Look at the language patterns. When they talk about us being not ready and a developing world, they're not using terms of equality. The Kaldorian wasn't speaking to Captain Miller as a less advanced equal. The linguistic patterns match how someone would talk about resources or test subjects. Franklin's face darkened. You're sure about this? As sure as I can. Be without more samples. But there's more. She pulled up another screen. They said they accessed our global networks. I checked with cybersecurity. There was a massive data breach across multiple government systems exactly 18 minutes before they made contact with the Dauntless. Franklin was silent for a long moment. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button and a soft hum filled the room. Signal jammer, he explained. What I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. He took a deep breath. 20 years ago, we detected unusual signals from deep space. Not communications, but what appeared to be propulsion signatures. Based on those findings, a small group within the government initiated what we called Protocol Thunderbolt, a contingency plan in case first contact went badly. Samantha stared at him. You expected this? We hoped for the best, but prepared for the worst. Your analysis confirms our fears. He looked grim. The Kaldorians aren't here for friendly relations. Lisa Carter wiped sweat from her forehead as she made final adjustments to the massive weapon in front of her. The underground facility in Nevada had been her home for the past 3 years as she worked on the EM pulse cannon. Final test successful, she announced to the team of engineers around her. Power output at 98% of theoretical maximum, targeting systems fully operational. General William Hart nodded with satisfaction. Good work, Carter. How soon can we have more of these ready? The prototype is done. With the bugs worked out, we can have 10 more operational within a week, assuming the production facilities are running at full capacity. The general was about to respond when his secure phone buzzed. He answered, listened for a moment, then his expression turned grave. Understood. Yes, sir. Immediately. He hung up and looked at Lisa. Protocol Thunderbolt has been activated. We need that cannon ready to deploy now. Lisa felt her heart rate spike. Protocol Thunderbolt was the emergency plan they had all hoped would never be needed. What happened? First contact went sideways. The aliens are hostile. They've already established a base on Mars, and our intel suggests they're preparing for something bigger. At ESC headquarters, Kevin Young had been reassigned to the communications analysis team after the Dauntless returned to Earth. He was monitoring Kaldorian transmissions when he caught something strange. Sir, he called to his supervisor. I'm picking up increased communications between the Kaldorian ships. They're using a frequency they think we can't detect. His supervisor hurried over. Can you decode it? Working on it. Kevin's fingers flew over his keyboard. They're discussing something called harvesting procedures. And there's a timetable. 3 Earth days from now. The supervisor grabbed a secure phone. Get me Admiral Franklin immediately. The Kaldorians are planning to move against Earth in 3 days. Within hours, the leaders of the United Earth government gathered in the secure bunker beneath Geneva. The evidence was clear. The Kaldorians had not come in peace. They had come to exploit. President Helen Rodriguez looked around the room at the grim faces of her advisors. Options? Admiral Franklin stepped forward. Madam President, for the past 20 years, we've been preparing for this possibility. We have weapons and defenses the Kaldorians know nothing about. They think we're defenseless. They're wrong. You're suggesting we attack first? Asked the Chinese representative. Franklin shook his head. I'm suggesting we reveal that humanity isn't the easy target they think we are. It's time to show them that if they want Earth, they'll have to fight for it. The room fell silent as the weight of the decision pressed down on them all. Finally, President Rodriguez nodded. Send the order, Admiral. Activate all our defenses. If the Kaldorians want a war, we'll give them one they'll never forget. As the meeting ended, No one noticed the small Caldorian probe that had been watching through the supposedly secure window, transmitting everything back to the fleet gathering on the dark side of the moon. Humanity's response would not be the surprise they hoped for. The stage was set. The first interstellar war in human history was about to begin. Colonel William Peters walked through the vast underground chamber beneath the lunar surface. All around him, men and women worked at control stations, their faces lit by the glow of screens. Few people knew this place existed. On maps, it was marked as Lunar Mining Operation 7, just another resource extraction facility. The Caldorians had scanned it once and dismissed it. That was their first mistake. "Status report," William said as he approached the main control platform. Major Grace Foster looked up from her station. "All systems coming online, sir. Artemis Defense Network at 87% activation. Will be fully operational in 3 hours." William nodded, allowing himself a small smile. For 50 years, humanity had been preparing for this possibility. After the first unusual signals were detected from deep space decades ago, a secret coalition of Earth's governments had begun the Artemis Project, a hidden defense system spread across the lunar surface. "The Caldorians have no idea what's waiting for them," Grace said quietly. "Let's keep it that way until the last possible moment," William replied. On the main screen, they could see the Caldorian fleet in Earth orbit. 12 large ships had taken position, their strange designs unlike anything humans had built. The aliens thought they held all the power. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Ghost Fleet, this is command. Activation sequence initiated. Acknowledge." Vice Admiral Patricia Davis stood in the command center of Ceres Base, hidden inside the largest asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Around her, officers monitored the awakening of humanity's secret weapon, a fleet of warships built in hidden asteroid bases throughout the solar system. One by one, the responses came in. Titan Base acknowledges. Ghost Squadron 1 activating. Europa Station acknowledges. Ghost Squadron 2 powering up. Deimos Base acknowledges. Ghost Squadron 3 ready to deploy. Patricia felt a surge of pride. While the Public Earth Space Commission built exploration, vessels like the Dauntless, the military division had been constructing these ships for decades. Using revolutionary propulsion systems developed by Dr. Alan Morris, these ships could move without leaving the typical energy signatures that would be detectable to alien sensors. "The Caldorians think we only have a handful of ships," she said to her second-in-command. "They're about to discover our real fleet." On the tactical display, small green dots began to appear, representing each ship as it powered up. Within the hour, there would be over 60 warships ready to fight, all previously invisible to Caldorian scanners. The Caldorian attack came without warning. A blinding beam shot down from their lead ship, striking Earth's main defense installation in Australia. The facility erupted in flames, the explosion visible from orbit. In his command chair aboard the Caldorian flagship, Commander Drekthar watched with satisfaction. "The humans' primary defense capability has been neutralized," his tactical officer reported. "As expected," Drekthar said. "These primitives thought they could hide their weapon systems from our scans. Begin the second phase. Target their communication satellites and secondary defense installations." The Caldorian commander felt no remorse. His people had done this dozens of times before on other developing worlds. The pattern was always the same: destroy their defensive capabilities, create confusion by eliminating communications, then begin the harvest. His superiors would be pleased with how efficiently he handled the humans. What Drekthar didn't know was that he had just destroyed a decoy. The real defensive systems remained untouched, waiting for the signal to reveal themselves. Deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Dr. Olivia Ross typed the final command into her terminal. Around her, the most sophisticated computer system on Earth hummed to life. "Quantum communication network is active," she announced to the room of scientists and military personnel. "All hidden forces are now connected." This was humanity's ace in the hole. Traditional communications could be detected and jammed by the Caldorians, but the quantum entanglement system allowed Earth's forces to coordinate without any detectable signals. It was based on principles that the Kaldorians apparently hadn't mastered yet, or at least didn't expect humans to have mastered. General Ryan Cooper nodded with approval. Send the message to all commands. Operation Thunderbolt is a go. Defense grid activation in T-30 minutes. For the first time, the full scope of humanity's military preparedness became apparent to those with clearance to see the master. Tactical display. Green icons appeared across the solar system. Weapons platforms, ships, ground installations. 50 years of secret development and trillions of dollars spent, while the public remained unaware. The Kaldorians think they're dealing with a Type 1 civilization just taking its first steps into space, Ryan said. They have no idea what we've really been building. In orbit around Jupiter, Commander Scott Turner received the coded activation signal. He turned to his crew on the bridge of the stealth destroyer Nemesis. It's time, he announced. Power up all systems. Prepare to deactivate stealth mode on my mark. Similar scenes played out in hidden bases around Saturn, Venus, and scattered throughout the asteroid belt. Ships that had remained dormant and invisible now came to life, their advanced weapons systems charging. The Nemesis was the pride of humanity's ghost fleet. Its hull was made of materials that absorbed rather than reflected sensor scans. Its engines used a revolutionary design that contained the energy signature within a quantum bubble, preventing detection. And its weapons, those were something special. All 12 ships in Jupiter Squadron report ready for action, Commander, his first officer reported. Scott nodded. Now we wait for the signal. On Earth, chaos was spreading. The Kaldorians had begun jamming regular communications, causing panic in major cities. News reports showed their ships hovering above population centers, strange beams scanning the ground below. What the aliens didn't realize was that this chaos was partly orchestrated. Emergency protocols had been designed decades ago to manage civilian populations during first contact, especially if that contact turned hostile. While the public faced disruption, key personnel were being moved to secure locations. In the White House Situation Room, President Helen Rodriguez watched the reports with a controlled expression. Beside her, Admiral Franklin provided updates from the military. The Kaldorians believe they've crippled our defenses, Franklin said. They're positioning for what they think will be an easy victory. All our forces are in position and awaiting your command. Helen took a deep breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's future. How many civilian casualties are we expecting? If we execute now, minimal. The longer we wait, the more people will be in danger. The Kaldorians are already beginning what they call harvesting procedures in some areas. The president nodded grimly. Then we have no choice. Give them the order, Admiral. In lunar orbit, the Kaldorian support vessels moved into position, preparing to deploy ground forces to Earth. They had encountered minimal resistance so far, just a few pathetic missiles easily intercepted and some primitive energy weapons that barely dented their shields. On the bridge of his ship, Sub-Commander Kelvor received a transmission from the flagship. Begin landing operations, ordered Drekthar. The humans are reacting as expected, disorganized and frightened. This will be completed by the end of their day cycle. Yes, Commander, Kelvor responded. My ships are in position to... His words were cut short as alarms blared across his bridge. Unknown energy signature detected, shouted his sensor officer. Multiple sources all across the lunar surface. Impossible, Kelvor snapped. Our scans showed nothing but mining operations. On his view screen, the lunar surface seemed to transform. Panels slid open on what had appeared to be ordinary crater rims, revealing massive weapon emplacements. Structures that had registered as simple habitation domes split apart to reveal missile launchers and energy projectors. We're being targeted, the tactical officer shouted. Multiple locks from lunar surface and, wait, detecting new ships. They're appearing everywhere in the system. Throughout the solar system, humanity's hidden defenses revealed themselves at once. The Artemis network on the moon activated its targeting systems. The Ghost Fleet deactivated their stealth fields. And on Earth, ground-based defense grids powered up. The last thing Kelvor saw before his ship was hit was the impossible sight. of dozens of advanced human warships appearing as if from nowhere, surrounding the Caldorian fleet in a perfect formation. In his command center on Luna, Colonel William Peters gave the order that humanity had been preparing to give for 50 years. All units open fire. The Caldorians had come expecting to find an easy target, a primitive species ripe for conquest. Instead, they found themselves surrounded by an armed and ready humanity that had been preparing for this day for longer than they could have imagined. The counterattack had begun. The space around Earth lit up with energy weapons and explosions. Captain Eric Summers watched from the bridge of the Valiant as the Caldorian fleet scrambled to respond to the sudden appearance of humanity's hidden armada. "They're trying to form a defensive position," his tactical officer reported. "Their fleet is in disarray." Eric nodded. "Just as we planned. Execute attack pattern Delta. Target their flagship, but do not destroy it. Remember, we want to disable, not obliterate." The Valiant surged forward, leading a squadron of 5 stealth destroyers. These ships had been humanity's best-kept secret, vessels that combined Earth's most advanced technology with design elements reverse-engineered from studying distant alien signals over decades. "Weapons range in 30 seconds, reported the weapons officer. Eric tapped a button on his chair. "All ships prepare to deploy EM pulse technology. Remember your training. These weapons haven't been tested in actual combat until now." The EM pulse. Cannon was the brainchild of Lisa Carter, a brilliant weapons engineer who had spent years developing a way to disable advanced technology without destroying it. The weapon generated an electromagnetic pulse so precisely focused that it could shut down specific systems without harming others. Perfect for capturing rather than destroying the Caldorian flagship. "Target locked," announced the weapons officer. "EM pulse charged and ready. Fire," Eric ordered. Blue-white energy shot from the Valiant and the other ships in formation. The beams converged on the Caldorian flagship, enveloping it in crackling energy. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, the lights on the alien vessel began to go dark. Its weapons powered down. Its engines sputtered and died. "Direct hit," the tactical officer confirmed. "Their primary systems are offline. They're dead in space." Eric allowed himself a small smile. "Begin boarding procedures. I want control of that ship in 15 minutes. On Earth, Major Catherine Daniels stood in the underground command center of the North American Defense Grid. Screens around her showed the status of thousands of missile launchers and energy weapons hidden across the continent. "Grid fully operational," reported her second-in-command. "All units reporting ready," Catherine nodded. "Execute firing sequence Alpha. Target the Caldorian vessels in low Earth orbit." Across North America, weapons that had been disguised as ordinary structures revealed themselves. Missile silos hidden under farmland opened. Energy projectors concealed within mountain ranges powered up. What appeared to be water towers transformed as panels slid aside to reveal advanced targeting systems. The Caldorians had scanned Earth extensively, but had dismissed these structures as primitive infrastructure. They hadn't realized that humans had been building their defenses in plain sight for decades. Hundreds of missiles launched simultaneously, streaking into the sky. Unlike conventional weapons, these carried advanced payloads developed specifically to counter alien technology. Some released clouds of nanobots programmed to infiltrate and disable alien systems. Others deployed specialized EMP warheads designed to penetrate energy shields. "First wave impact in 10 seconds, announced the tactical officer. Catherine watched the screens as the missiles converged on the alien ships. The Caldorians tried to intercept them with energy beams, but there were too many targets coming from too many directions. "Multiple hits confirmed," reported the sensor officer. 4 Caldorian vessels disabled, 2 attempting emergency maneuvers. "Launch second wave," Catherine ordered. "Target the remaining operational vessels." She thought of all the years of preparation, the countless drills and simulations. The public had never known about the true extent of Earth's defenses, believing that humanity was just taking its first steps into space. In reality, governments around the world had been quietly building an arsenal capable of defending the planet against the very threat they now faced. On the lunar surface, Colonel William Peters watched as the Artemis platforms fired their second, Folly. The precisely targeted energy beam sliced through the hulls of 3 Caldorian heavy cruisers as if they were made of paper. Direct hits on all targets, reported his weapons officer. Their shields couldn't withstand our focused beam technology. The Artemis Defense Network was the most powerful weapon system ever built by human hands. A series of interconnected energy projectors spread across the lunar surface. Each individual projector was powerful, but when they combined their beams, they created a weapon of devastating precision. The Caldorians are attempting to return fire, warned the sensor officer. They're targeting our main power node in Mare Imbrium. William smiled grimly. Let them try. Activate the deflector grid. As the Caldorian ships fired, a shimmering energy field appeared above the lunar surface, absorbing the alien attack. The deflector technology was based on principles that Earth scientists had been developing for decades, another secret kept from both the public and potential alien threats. Their attack had no effect, reported the defensive systems officer. Deflector grid holding at 97% capacity. Return fire, William ordered. Target their weapon systems only. I want those ships disabled, not destroyed. The Artemis platforms adjusted their aim and fired again. This time, the beams targeted specific points on the Caldorian vessels, the locations of their weapon emplacements. One by one, the alien ships lost their ability to fight back. In the command center inside Mount Cheyenne, Admiral George Franklin coordinated the main offensive. The holographic battle map showed the positions of all forces in the solar system, both human and Caldorian. Ghost Fleet squadrons report all targets in the outer system neutralized, an officer reported. Lunar defenses have disabled the main Caldorian battle group. Earth-based weapons have eliminated the remaining orbital threats. Franklin nodded, with satisfaction. And boarding teams? Captain Summers reports successful capture of the Caldorian flagship. They're securing the command deck now. The Admiral allowed himself a moment of pride. The counterattack was proceeding exactly as planned. The Caldorians had come expecting easy prey and instead found themselves facing a coordinated response that they couldn't have imagined. Sir, called one of the communications officers, we're intercepting Caldorian transmissions. They're trying to call for reinforcements. Let them, Franklin replied calmly. Dr. Harris, is your system ready? Doctor, Nathan Harris nodded from his station. Yes, Admiral, the communications jammer is active. We're using their own technology against them, the same systems they use to disrupt our satellites. They won't be able to send any messages beyond our solar system. Aboard the Caldorian flagship, Eric Summers led his boarding team through the alien corridors. The ship's interior was strange, angles that seemed wrong to human eyes, surfaces that shifted color as they walked past, gravity that fluctuated subtly from one section to another. Stay focused, Eric warned his team. The EM pulse disabled their weapons and engines, but internal systems may still be operational. They encountered little resistance. Most of the Caldorian crew had been incapacitated by the pulse, and those who remained were too confused by the sudden attack to mount an effective defense. Command deck ahead, reported his second-in-command, checking a handheld scanner. I'm reading 12 life forms inside. Eric nodded. Remember, we want prisoners, not casualties. Stun weapons only. They breached the command deck in seconds. The Caldorians inside turned in surprise, some reaching for weapons, but the boarding team was faster. Stun blasts dropped the aliens before they could fire a shot. In the center of the room stood a Caldorian who wore ornate armor, clearly the commander. He stared at Eric with his large black eyes, his expression unreadable to human senses. Impossible, the Caldorian said in his rumbling voice. You are a primitive species. You cannot have this technology. You made a serious mistake, Eric replied calmly. You judged us by our public face, never considering that we might be hiding our true capabilities. The galactic community will respond to this attack, the Caldorian threatened. Our distress call has already been sent. Eric smiled. No, it hasn't. We're blocking all your communications using the very technology you used against our satellites. He gestured to his team. Secure the command crew and download their database. I want everything. Their star charts, their communications logs, information about this galactic community they keep mentioning. One of his team members moved to a terminal and connected a device to it. Beginning download now, Captain. Their security is complex, but our systems are breaking through. Eric turned back to the Caldorian commander. You came to harvest us, like a resource. Instead, you've given us access to knowledge that will change humanity's place in the galaxy forever. The alien's face might not have shown human expressions, but Eric could see the disbelief in those black eyes. Commander Drekthar was watching his supposedly easy conquest turn into a nightmare, one that would send ripples throughout the galaxy when other civilizations learned how badly the Caldorians had underestimated the humans of Earth. Download. Complete, announced the technician. We have everything, Captain. Star maps, communication protocols, records of other species. It's all here. Eric nodded. Secure the prisoners and prepare for extraction. Our message to the stars is just beginning. 2 weeks after what became known as the Battle of Terra, 7 strange ships appeared at the edge of the solar system. They emerged from what looked like tiers in the fabric of space itself, their designs all different from one another, and all different from the Caldorian vessels. In the newly commissioned Space Station Sentinel, positioned in Earth orbit as humanity's forward defense post, President Susan Mitchell watched the approaching ships on the main display. They received the distress calls, Admiral Franklin said, standing beside her. Just as we expected. Susan nodded. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her face showing the strain of the past 2 weeks. Since the Caldorian attack, Earth had been working around the clock to prepare for this moment. Are our defenses ready? She asked. Yes, Madam President. The entire fleet is deployed in defensive formation. The Artemis network is fully operational. Ground-based weapons are on standby. Franklin's voice was calm, but his eyes betrayed his tension. We're as ready as we can be. From the captured Caldorian database, Earth had learned about the wider galactic community, dozens of spacefaring civilizations connected by treaties and alliances. The Caldorians had sent distress calls before their communications were jammed. Now representatives of 7 major powers had arrived to investigate. Open a channel, Susan ordered. Let's not keep them waiting. Aboard the lead alien vessel, Ambassador Zrek of the Aldari Confederation observed the human solar system with surprise. He had expected to find a conquered world with Caldorian ships in control. Instead, he saw the wreckage of Caldorian vessels and a fully mobilized human defense force. This is unexpected, he said to his advisors. The Caldorians reported this was a primitive species. His military attaché, Commander Valen, studied the sensor readings with growing concern. These are not the defenses of a primitive species, Ambassador. I'm detecting energy signatures that rival our own technology, and their fleet, it's substantial. A communication request flashed on their main screen. The humans wish to speak with us, reported the communications officer. Zrek straightened his ceremonial robes. Accept the transmission. The screen filled, with the image of a human female with gray hair and a serious expression. Behind her stood other humans in what appeared to be a command center. I am President Susan Mitchell of the United Earth Government, the human said. On behalf of humanity, I extend greetings to the representatives of the galactic community. Zrek bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Zrek of the Aldari Confederation. We received distress signals from a Caldorian fleet in this system. Would you explain what has occurred? The human's expression hardened. The Caldorians came to our system uninvited. They dismissed us as primitive and declared our planet quarantined. Then they prepared to harvest our people as resources. We defended ourselves. Murmurs spread among Zrek's advisors. The Caldorians were known for their aggressive expansion, but harvesting sentient beings was forbidden under galactic law. These are serious accusations, Zrek replied carefully. Do you have evidence of these claims? Susan nodded. We invite your delegation to meet with us aboard our station. We will present all evidence there. 3 hours later, the alien delegation stood in the conference room of the Sentinel station. 7 different species, each with their own unique appearance, faced the human representatives across a large table. Dr. Samantha Wright stepped forward with a data tablet. As humanity's chief diplomat, she had spent the past 2 weeks studying the Caldorian database, learning everything she could about the galactic community. "The evidence is clear," she said, activating a holographic display above the table. "These are files from the Caldorian command ship, which we captured intact. They show a systematic pattern of exploitation of what they called developing worlds throughout the galaxy." The display showed star maps, reports, and recordings of Caldorian commanders discussing their activities. Samantha watched the aliens' reactions carefully, noting how some seemed shocked while others appeared unsurprised. "The Caldorians classified Earth as a high-yield harvest world," she continued. "Their plans included capturing humans for biological research and resource extraction. They've done the same to at least 7 other worlds in the past 50 years. One of the aliens, a tall being with crystalline features, stepped forward. "This is disturbing, but not entirely surprising. The Caldorian Empire has been expanding aggressively for centuries." "What is surprising," added another delegate with blue skin and 4 arms, "is that you were able to defeat them. How did a world with your technology level accomplish this?" President Susan exchanged glances with Admiral Franklin before answering. "The technology level we showed to the galaxy was deliberately understated. For decades, we suspected we might not be alone in the universe. We prepared accordingly." While the diplomatic meeting continued, Admiral Franklin led the military attachés from each alien delegation to a separate briefing room. Without words, he activated a display showing the full extent of Earth's military capabilities. The aliens watched in stunned silence as the presentation revealed weapon systems, defensive installations, and fleet compositions that far exceeded what they had expected. The final slides showed technologies that even the Caldorians hadn't witnessed during the battle. Prototype weapons held in reserve. "This is only a fraction of what we can deploy," Franklin said quietly. "We reveal this not as a threat, but as a demonstration that humanity will not be underestimated again." One of the alien officers, a reptilian being with scales that shifted color with its mood, spoke after a long silence. "Your people hid this level of advancement. Why?" Franklin's expression remained neutral. "In our history, when technologically advanced civilizations encountered less advanced ones, the results were rarely positive for the less advanced group. We decided it was prudent to appear less capable than we truly are until we understood the nature of the galaxy." "A wise precaution," the reptilian officer admitted, "especially given your encounter with the Caldorians." President Susan stood before the alien delegation as the meetings concluded. The evidence had been presented, the capabilities demonstrated. Now came the most important part, humanity's message to the stars. "We sought peace and were met with violence," she began, her voice firm. "We extended friendship and were met with contempt. We will not make that mistake again. Earth is not a prize to be claimed or a resource to be harvested. We are armed and we are ready." She paused, looking at each alien representative in turn. "But we also wish to join the galactic community as equals. We have terms. First, Earth and the Sol system will be recognized as sovereign territory under human control. Second, any species that wishes to interact with humanity will do so with mutual respect and open communication. Third, we will share our knowledge and technology with those who share with us." Susan's expression softened slightly. "We prefer friendship to conflict. We would rather build bridges than weapons, but make no mistake. We will defend ourselves with overwhelming force if threatened again." The alien delegates conferred among themselves before Ambassador Zrek stepped forward. "Your terms are reasonable, President Mitchell. The defeat of the Caldorian fleet has demonstrated that humanity is indeed ready for a place among the spacefaring civilizations. We will carry your message back to our governments." As the alien ships departed, Lisa Carter and Eric Summers stood on the observation deck of the Sentinel, watching them disappear into faster-than-light travel. "Do you think they got the message?" Lisa asked, her eyes on the stars beyond the viewport. Eric nodded. "They did, and so will everyone else in the galaxy." Behind them, construction ships moved into position, beginning work on the massive defensive platform that would guard Earth's place among the stars. It was just the first of many such installations planned throughout the solar system. "It's strange," Lisa said. "For all our preparations, I never truly believed we'd face an alien threat in our lifetime." "The universe turned out to be more dangerous than we hoped," Eric replied, "but also more wondrous than we imagined. The Kaldorian database contains information about thousands of worlds, hundreds of civilizations. There's so much to explore. Now," Lisa smiled, "and we'll explore it armed and ready." Beyond the solar system, news spread quickly through galactic networks. The species from the Yellow Star had not only defeated the Kaldorians, but had done so using technology that should have been beyond their reach. Some civilizations responded with fear, others with admiration, and many with newfound respect. In the various centers of power throughout the galaxy, one message echoed clearly. Humanity was not to be trifled with. They had given their warning. To the stars, they were armed and ready for whatever the universe might bring. 2 months later, the first official human embassy opened on the galactic capital world. Above its entrance, inscribed in both human languages and galactic standard, was a simple phrase that had become humanity's unofficial motto among the stars. "We come in peace, but we stand in strength." The exploration of the galaxy had begun, and humanity would face it as it had faced the Kaldorians, prepared for the worst but hoping for the best.